Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachadine Vishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshata Mancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namah Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupagadamahyam Dadhati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabanu Sute Devi Pranama Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama. So welcome everyone back to, what are we calling this? The Saturday Sanga? Something like that. I'm still at Nilachal Vedic Village. For the first time in 2 months, literally 2 months, I went outside the gate of Nilachal Vedic Village a couple of days ago to go to the town of Vapi, V-A-P-I, which is in southern Gujarat, in order to go to a dentist, very nice dentist, devotee, whose name is Dauji Kripa Prabhu, and he took care of my teeth situation, which became somewhat disturbed. I'll be going back to him again in maybe 10 days or so for some minor, very minor treatment. So basically all is well. The adventure was getting through the border because the police there's a checkpoint at the Maharashtra-Gujarat border on the highway. We actually, this was our second try. The first attempt we made, I guess it was 3 days ago, failed because we were lacking one document. But this time we got the document in advance with a little bit of half-truth. Sometimes necessary. The document, instead of being in my name, which would have raised all kinds of, let's say, unnecessary questions, it was in the name of the brahmachari devotee who went with me, Kunda Padma Prabhu. So that worked out, but as a final check, they check your temperature with one of these sort of, looks like a little pistol, and they hold it up to your near your forehead. And I was trying my best to hide my white skin, so I had a mask over the mouth and nose, which is standard now for everyone. Plus, I had sunglasses on, which kind of wrap around. The sunglasses from Dubai. Dharmagupta will remember our shopping trip for the sunglasses. That was a whole mission. So, and I had on a kind of turban from my gamcha to try to cover my head. But the lady who was doing the checking immediately saw. She said, "Oh, Videshi," which means foreigner in Hindi. And Kunda Padma was very quick. He was very good. He told her, he is staying with us since 1 year. And then that was okay. Because the worry, people now are quite paranoid of foreigners here in India. Because as far as they know, we're all carrying this disease. The same is true in China. I've read in one article that European foreigners staying in China, even they've been there for many years, are being treated now as outcasts. So it's very interesting kind of reversal. I think it's a reaction against all the European imperialism. Now it's hitting us back, which means for me, I think as soon as it's possible for me to leave India, it's probably best that I do leave India, because otherwise I have to just stay in hiding here, which there's not much point in that. Yeah, so anyway, everything worked out. And the next time we go, we will take a different vehicle, which I'm told by the devotees here, they will wave us straight through the border, because this vehicle is a transport vehicle. It's the milk truck they use for bringing milk to Juhu temple. Okay, that's a little news, exciting news from Nilachal Vedic Village. Hare Krishna. So we're singing a song. I thought let's begin the collection of songs from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura, Saranagati. As you probably know, Bhaktivinoda Thakura wrote many songs, something more than 200 songs. Most of them he wrote within a very short time in the 1890s. And he wrote them as largely they are didactic songs, teaching. They are speaking philosophy and theology of Chaitanya Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And it seems like the main context for his doing this writing was his very energetic and very successful promotion of what he called Nama Patta, the market of the holy name. We are told that he established some 500 Namhatta centers within a period of some around 2 years. Anyway, so for this kind of preaching, village preaching, very simple people, he wanted to give them the easiest possible way to understand what is Krishna consciousness. Despite their being, so to say, simple, they're also, as Srila Prabhupada says, profound. And they are sublime. So simple, sublime, profound. The subject of his Saranagati collection is, of course, Saranagati, which is based on, well, there's a Sanskrit verse which is found, to my knowledge, in only 2 places. One is called the Lakshmi Tantra, and the other is called, it's even more obscure, it's the Ahirbudnya Samhita. Ahirbudnya Samhita is one of the Pancharatra genre of texts. And Lakshmi Tantra might also be classified as Pancharatra, I'm not sure. It seems to be a kind of Vaishnava Shakta text. It's glorifying Lakshmi Devi. And the verse is Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishyati tivishvaso bhoktritve varanam tada ātma-nivedana what is it? Ātma-nivedana Sri Krishna Saranagati Shatvidha Saranagati. That's it. 6 aspects of Saranagati, or surrender. Acceptance of what's favorable in devotional service, avoidance of what's not favorable, having faith in the protection of the Lord, having faith, conviction that in the Lord as maintainer, feeling humility, and ātma-nivedana, giving oneself entirely to the Lord. These are 6 components of surrender. And what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura does in his songbook, he provides us with, I would say, minimum 4 songs, and sometimes, I don't remember now, maybe maximum 8 songs for each of these categories. And it's interesting, he does not start with Anukulyasya sankalpa, accepting what is favorable. He seems to begin at the other end. He begins with humility. Okay, so I hope everyone has found this song, the introductory song, which begins Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu, Jive, Doya, Kori. Is this the one we have together? Good, okay. Actually, I could also, let's see if I can do this. Try to put this on the screen. Whoops. Possible to make screen sharing available, Dharma-gupta?
Can you please try now, Guru Maharaj?
Okay. Let's see. Well, oh, there it is, database. All right, here we go. Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Jive Doya Kori. Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Jive Doya Kori. swa-pārs śrīya dhāma saha avatari. swa-pārs śrīya dhāma saha avatari. Atyanta durlabha prema koribāre dāna. Atyanta durlabha prema koribāre dāna. śikhāya saranagati bhakti-pratikūla-bhāva.
śrīkhāya saranagati bhakti-pratikūla-bhāva.
Oh, Dharma-gupta, I think you'll have to turn yours off because there's a delay. Yes, sorry. Daya ātma-nivedana goptritve-vara. Daya ātma-nivedana goptritve-vara. Avasya rakhibe Krishna vishasa-pala. Avasya rakhibe Krishna vishasa-pala. Bhakti-anukūla-mātra karjera śikhāya. Bhakti-anukūla-mātra karjera śikhāya. Bhakti-pratikūla-bhāva bhajanangika. Bhakti-pratikūla-bhāva bhajanangika. Shadanga Saranagati hoibe jaha. Shadanga Saranagati hoibe jaha. Tahara prarthana shune śrī-nanda-kumāra. Tahara prarthana shune śrī-nanda-kumāra. Rūpa-sanātana-pade dante trina Kori. Rūpa-sanātana-pade danta trina Kori. Bhaktivinoda pade pada dhori. Bhaktivinoda pade pada dhori. Kandiya kandiya bole amito adama. Kandiya kandiya bole amito adama. śikhāya saranagati he uttama. śikhāya saranagati he uttama. We'll have to ask Sugopi for correction of pronunciation. She is our Bengali coming from Bengal. Any corrections you want to make to, or maybe it's all needing correction? Sugopi Tunga Vidya. Microphone?
Yes, I think that it was okay. Like
Tolerable?
Doya Kori. Yes, Shwa-pārs śrīya dhāma seva avatari. Just that avatari, we say it like that.
avatari.
atyanta, yeah, avatari. Atyanta durlabha prema koribāre dāna śikhāya saranagati bhaktero prana. śikhāya saranagati bhaktero prana. Doya ātma-nivedana goptritve varana ashaya rukshive Krishna vishaya vishvasha palana. I think it was good, Maharaj. Yes.
Okay. So what does it mean? Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu, Jive Doya Kori. Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu descended from the eternal spiritual world along with his personal associates and his divine abode, incarnating in this temporary material world out of compassion for the fallen souls. In order to freely distribute the gift of ecstatic love of God, which is very difficult to obtain, he taught the path of Saranagati, devotional surrender to the Supreme Lord. This Saranagati is the very life of the true devotees. So it's interesting, Bhaktivinoda Thakura is giving credit to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the actual teacher of Saranagati. And of course, how is he teaching is by demonstration. And so he is being the perfect acharya of Saranagati. And then he says this Saranagati is the very life of the true devotees. Bhaktir pran. Pran, of course, means breath, but it has the sense also of being the life, bhaktir pran, the life of the devotees, bhaktir. This addition of a syllable, sometimes Bhaktivinoda Thakur will end his song with Bhaktivinoda, Prabhu Charane, like that. So Bhaktivinoda instead of Bhaktivinoda adds a syllable in order to provide the right rhythm, or to give enough syllables for singing. This in English we call this scansion. So here also bhaktir. And for the same reason, sometimes a syllable will be dropped, especially at the end of a line. One thing that we don't really know, I don't think scholars know either, is to what extent the final short A on a word, especially at the end of a line, would be dropped in medieval Bengali. So when we're reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, we don't really know, were they pronouncing all of these short A's at the end of the line. Anyway, Dāna, ātma-nivedana, so now we get the list. The 6 ways of surrender through Saranagati are Dāna, humility, or doyā in Bangla. Ātma-nivedana, which probably would be something like ātma-nivedana, dedication of the self. Goptritve varana, acceptance of the Lord as one's only maintainer. 4, the consciousness of avasya rakibe Krishna. Krishna will surely protect me. Which is vishwas, faith in Krishna's palana, protection. 5th, bhakti-anukūla-mātra karjer śrī-kr, execution of only those acts favorable to pure devotion. The word śrī-kr has a sense of accepting, but also it's something like making one's own. Like really, really deeply accepting something. It's śrī-kr. So bhakti-anukūla-mātra. Mātra means only, has a sense of exclusivity. And anukula, often translated as favorable, literally with the grain or with the direction. So bhakti-anukūla-mātra. Then number 6, bhakti-pratikūla-bhāva, bhājanangikar, renunciation of conduct adverse to pure devotional service. Of course, pratikūla is the opposite of anukūla. And varjana means rejection. Angikar. Angikar is also something like making connected. So rejection of what is made connected, something like that. Then Sharanga Saranagati Jive Jahar Tahar Prarthana Shune śrī-nanda-kumāra. śrī-nanda-kumāra, the youthful son of Nanda Maharaj, hears the prayers of anyone who takes refuge in him by the sixfold practice of surrender. So here, Bhaktivinoda Thakura is giving us a kind of palashruti right in the beginning, so we know what is going to be the benefit of singing the songs that he's going to give us, is that Nanda-kumāra, Lord Krishna himself, is going to hear them. He's going to hear these prayers if we sing them in a spirit of surrender. Prarthana means prayer. Jive is the future tense, will happen, and jahara, tahara is a relative, correlative. I guess those which and those, or of them and them, I'm not sure. I think it's possessive. And then we have invocation of Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis. Rūpa-sanātana-pade, Dante trina Kori, Bhaktivinoda pade, duhum paradhori. Bhaktivinoda prostrates himself at the feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatana Goswami, places a straw between his teeth, and clasps their lotus feet with his hands. So if we want to show humility in the traditional Indian way, or Vedic way, we take some straw between the teeth and bow down, mister. Touch the feet. Why straw between the teeth? Because in this way we are imitating the cow. And cows are humble beings. Yeah. And then finally, kandiya bole, amito adomo, śikhāya, which is from the word śikhāya. Saranagati koro he uttamo. Weeping and weeping, he, that is Bhaktivinoda, tells them, namely Rupa and Sanatana, I am certainly the lowest of men. Oh, please make me the worthiest by teaching me the ways of Saranagati. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is he's leading the way on how to sing these songs, in what spirit. So it's nice to remember this introductory song. that he is, Bhaktivinoda is approaching humbly Rupa and Sanatana Goswami for their blessings. And he's indicating how serious he is by saying, Kandiya, Kandiya, bole, weeping and weeping. And we're going to hear a lot of this expression of humility in the next group of songs. So if everyone likes, we can, with each of our Saturday Sangas, we can sing some Saranagati. Is that okay?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. So we'll continue with the first song of the Hanya chapter, correct? Next time.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Now, I think I understand we have 2 short show and tell presentations.
Yes, we have 3 presentations today. First is Mataji Samya Karuni, then it's Mataji Dira Lalita, and Divya Singha Prabhu is still, as I can see, still traveling. So hopefully he will be joining soon. So Mataji's can start maybe.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
My humble obeisances to you. I have nothing to show, like in particular, but I would like to tell a little bit about field notes, the field notes of Guru Maharaj. Last Akshaya Tritiya, in the end of April, it was exactly 1 year. We have revived the old field notes of Guru Maharaj. When I met Guru Maharaj, sometime before, I asked him, where can I subscribe to your newsletter, because I want to follow you more closely. And Guru Maharaj told me that he had it previously, but now it was kind of on the pause. And he asked me very humbly to push him a little to let it start again. And I thought, how do you push Maharaj? So I asked him if he would allow me to try to start it again. And Guru Maharaj was very kind to allow me to do it. And as it always worked, the mercy of Guru is so expanding that I had to engage my son, as I'm not at all handy with all these technical things. And my son, who is a designer, he had to help me with arranging all these mailing list issues. So Leslie was also engaged. And like I said, Akshaya Tritiya 1 year previously, we started with that. And it's very nice things to do. It's a very deep meditation on everything Guru Maharaj does. We are in the beginning of it, and I still try to figure out how to do it more nicely. I think the articles must be shorter and but maybe not. So I'm still looking for how it should be. And why I wanted to share it with you now, because I wanted to invite those who are interested, who would like to do it also, just to meditate on what you hear from Guru Maharaj, what strikes you, what brings you realizations, to share it with each other, to discuss and maybe to make together articles in order to let the field notes be better, to become better and better. This was my short presentation.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Somyakarani. Somyakarani is based in Holland. I don't know how far away you are from Amsterdam.
It's about 100 kilometers. I live nearby Rotterdam.
Oh, okay, so south of Amsterdam, Rotterdam. Rotterdam is where I spent one night in jail in 1970. What was it? 75? Must have been 75. Yeah, for distributing books. Anyway, thank you for that. And yeah, your enthusiasm in making this newsletter has been very nice, very good. It's surprising to me that it's already 1 year. It goes so fast. Yeah.
And it's really magical, because sometimes when I don't know what should I do next in the next issue, in this magical way Krishna always works. Things come to me, as once the Lalita Mata shared something what she saw somewhere. I liked it very much. She shared just at the moment when I wanted something about Srila Prabhupada, and that were those memories of Guru Maharaj, his diaries from years before, his remembrance of Srila Prabhupada, and it came just so beautifully together at the moment I needed it. So it's a very beautiful process, and I invite you all to join.
Which means, more specifically, if a devotee finds some particular portion of, let's say, a talk that I give, then they should share with you. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, maybe suggestions about some lectures that were inspiring, and also would be nice if you explain why it inspires you and why it inspires you exactly now, why it should be good for posting, for example, in the next issue. So just think together what is in the air about the preaching of Guru Maharaj and what we can use in the next issue.
What's in the air? Okay. It sounds very ethereal. Good. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, I would like to invite Mataji Dear Lalita to step forward and unmute.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisance.
Hi, Jai.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Well, being inspired by your constant encouragement, Guru Maharaj, but finally this lockdown came very handy by giving a lot of time for reflection and to actually get more to thinking about connecting with Krishna on a more deeper level, and also reflecting what am I doing on a daily basis, what's the meaning of all of my activities I'm doing. So I'm catching myself wasting lots of time, and that's good, because then the next day I make that waste shorter. Do more meaningful things. Well, I'm reading a second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and I must say I'm a very slow reader, and I can't just go over it just for sake of it. So yesterday a purport of Srila Prabhupada of second canto, the 3rd chapter, 22nd verse, that inspired me very much. And believe it or not, some kind of poem came out, and I hope it won't be too boring. And I would like to read it. It's called Inspiration. Is it okay if I read it?
Go ahead.
Inspiration. Feeling blessed that the path I'm on is illuminated by the way to the destination of mercy, love, and eternity. Feeling thankful to a person Bhagavata who kindly and patiently teaches and reveals secrets of discovering my own strengths that can be then offered to our dear Lord Krishna. Taking the dust of the lotus feet of great person Bhagavata, without whom walking on the path of perfection of devotional service would not be possible. Feeling grateful for the knowledge I'm taught, the knowledge of difference between bones, flesh, and the soul that gives meaning to the perishable vehicle. With the presence of a person Bhagavata, dear spiritual teacher and master, once God consciousness spark turns into a fire that enlightens the essence of the purpose of life. Waiting patiently in the queue of mercy and hoping that time will come when one's service will please dear person Bhagavata, which will lead to long time longing for being recommended by Srimati Radharani, Lord Krishna.
Oh, thank you. Very nice. Waiting in the queue of mercy. That's an idea. It also sounds very British. There's some kind of joke when two British people, what do? When two British people meet on the street, what do? They create a queue, a line. They line up one behind the other and wait for something, like a bus. Anyway, yes, queue. Let's wait in the queue of mercy, patiently.
Well, I have one more little thing just to say after reading this purport, if that's okay. Some sort of insight came out that that this spiritual practice, it sort of, because I'm a very basic person, a basic thinking. So two basic things came into my mind that our devotional service can be based on two things: the exchange of pleasing and blessings. So the exchange of pleasing the devotee and receiving blessing in return. So that was my little realization of what the spiritual practice is. The exchanges of pleasing the person and receiving blessings in return.
Nice. Which reminds me, many years ago, His Holiness Bhakti-Kshetra Swami gave a seminar on Vaishnava etiquette, one of his favorite topics. And I recall his suggesting a nice image of what is the essential dynamics of Vaishnava etiquette, and that is we offer service and respect upward to the Lord and his devotees, and then this inspires the mercy to come down. So it becomes a kind of circle. We're offering up, and then the mercy is coming down, which gives us the inspiration, the energy to again offer service. So like that goes on. And you can see that on so many dimensions. The process of offering bhoga to Krishna and then receiving prasad is, it's like this, it's a circle. And then distributing the prasad becomes the vehicle. Also, as it's being offered as bhoga, it's the food is a vehicle of bhakti, as one scholar. We are communicating, carrying devotion through prasadam. Nice. Okay.
Thank you very much, very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mataji, dear Lalita. Now I would like to invite Divya Singha Prabhu, if he is ready to share.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam Guru Maharaj to all of the Vaishnavas. I'm so happy that I'm with this technology is amazing because now I on the bike, I stopping in park and I spoke from my phone like this. But I was want to share because this topic what my sister speak about relationship. Rasala Prabhu from Poland told me a few days ago. In Polish, it sounds nice because we call nieważna racja, ważna relacja. That means it doesn't matter that you have right. The main thing is relationship. And sometimes devotee have such a mood, oh no, I have right, no, I have right. But main thing is to be connected with our sadhus, our guru, our God brothers, and for person who first time connect with Krishna conscious, give mercy, give patience, like for child, for person who are on the road, on beginning on this road. And this relationship is the main thing in the spiritual culture. As you said, Maharaj, this beautiful statement about Vaishnav culture, Vaishnav etiquette. For my understanding, please correct me if I'm wrong. The main thing is be with loving relationship with each other and respect senior, much more advanced, be friendship with equal and karun or merciful for younger or this beginners. And we can see I was prepared some drop only the meeting of Gaura Mahaprabhu with Roy Ramananda. When Gaura Mahaprabhu first saw Ramananda said, no, I am Mayavadi sannyasi. I am nobody. Please speak to me about Krishna. And Roy Ramananda said, no, I am Shudra. I doesn't have such a power to speak about Krishna. And Gaura Mahaprabhu said, no, kiba vipra, kiba nyasi Shudra kananai. Krishna vetta. If you know about Krishna, you can speak. And Roy Ramananda, of course, this is a beautiful example how devotees have a dialogue each other. Even Gaura Mahaprabhu, who is Lord himself, give us example because Lord Gauranga is also sadhu, example of sadhuji. And he show us how sadhu have a behavior, have a quality. And of course, Gaura Mahaprabhu can speak immediately all tattva, all knowledge, but give this opportunity to his devotee. And as I see now, you, Guru Maharaj, kindly give us opportunity to speak. And this is not good for me because you are senior, you are guru, you are a sadhu, all tattva, bhakta tattva, guru tattva is bhakti tattva is in your heart. But it is exchanging that even younger person can speak. And this is for pleasing of Gaura Mahaprabhu, for pleasing of Radha Krishna, because all things we are doing in our life is for pleasing Guru Gauranga. when Guru Gauranga pleased, everyone is pleased. This is my experience. And this life, which you give us, this is so beautiful life, because I know that I have millions of millions life, but this life is special. Guru Maharaj. This life is so beautiful that I cannot, because it's not verbal even, it's in my heart. And I know that I am not repaying. I cannot repay you. Only one thing I can give you on the end, maybe on the end of my life, I give you prem, this pure fruits. And I know this is our Siddhanta, that Guru Maharaj is the most pleased when devotee Shishya gives this prem. And as you today, this beautiful Saranagati section, Bhaktivinoda Thakur songs, Saranagati, I have a question. That my understanding, Sharan means shelter, Gati means goal. That means we should take shelter in one goal, which is Prem, which is Prem Bhakti. This is my question, Guru Maharaj. And thank you so much for every devotees here, and to you, Guru Maharaj. If I am offense you, please be like father to child. The child sometimes is stupid. I have 4 children in my life. I know what does it mean. And please forgive me any mistakes. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha. Kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo. Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for sharing your nice reflections. And to your question, yeah, just briefly, we can say yes, that's one way to understand. Of course, if we think in terms of sambandha avideya prayojana, we understand the prayojana of the whole spiritual process and life is prema bhakti. So in that way, we can understand it. And what you'll see at the very end of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's series of songs, after the last of the 6 principles, then he has 12 or 13 songs glorifying the holy name. And the very last of these songs, Bhaktivinoda Thakur discusses ecstasy. I mean, just utter and complete transcendental prema bhakti. So, yeah. Okay, and you also mentioned at some point dialogue, which can be a lead into my topic today. So I hope this will be interesting for you. I've been, let's see, I guess 3 times now, maybe even 4, in Mayapur. I have been giving a seminar on the subject I call Dialogical Vaishnavism within a program which is organized by B.R. Sagar Swami Maharaj, a young sannyasi from not Russia, but one of those countries. And it's a very nice program. It runs for 2 months. And it is for potential leaders. And he has several very qualified devotees, specialists in various areas, come and give short seminars. They're generally 3-day-long seminars. And it's a rather intense program. Each day runs for 5.5 hours, 3 hours in the morning, 2.5 in the afternoon, something like that. And so my subject each year has been this this topic of dialogical Vaishnavism. So I have something like 22.5 hours of material, so to say. Of course, in terms of PowerPoint, which I will begin in a minute, maybe it's not all that much, because I use a lot of the time for discussion with the people, with the devotees. But I thought we can start with my first, at least part of my first lesson, my first day of this seminar, and we'll see how it goes. We, of course, are jumping again because last time we talked something about leadership, and before that we talked about politics. So I know this is a bit of a jump, but I thought, why not? Okay, that's screen sharing. And where do I get? Okay. So I will just begin. I'm not going to make this full screen for a couple of reasons. Maybe bigger. Hope you can see. Yeah, no comment. I think my heading here sort of raises a question, dialogical. What do I mean by dialogical? And I'm also asking another question, are we devotees with our big emphasis on outreach? We certainly want to share Krishna consciousness with the world. To what extent are we being in dialogue with others? And to what extent are we not? My basic argument is that we generally are less dialogical than we could be, to put it like that. And why that's the case, there can be so many reasons, and we may discuss. This is the banyan tree at, I don't remember now, is this the one in Chennai, South Chennai, or it's the one in Calcutta? But in any case, it's a big banyan tree. What I get students to do when we're face-to-face is to talk about this tree and what sort of associations, what comes to mind as we contemplate such a tree. And of course, one sort of association we may have is the notion of interdependence and connectedness. And there's another tree image that you probably are more familiar with if you're walking in a forest in Poland or in Germany and so on. You look straight up and you see it looks like all the trees are kind of converging together. So this idea of convergence may also be useful for us to reflect on. Then there's another image. This is the famous Golden Gate Bridge of San Francisco, crossing over the San Francisco Bay to Sausalito on the north side. And the idea of a bridge leads into a whole discussion, which I have another presentation on, about bridge, so-called bridge preaching, in which I make the point that good preaching is bridge preaching. To be an effective preacher is to build a bridge, or to cross over a bridge, which is provided by our acharyas. So we can think of bridge preaching in a positive way, and I think we can appreciate a lot about our acharyas, most especially Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You can say the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita is about bridge preaching. There are many sorts of bridges, and some bridges may be more like a one-way bridge, but still this bridge, which doesn't look very firm, serves its purpose, and a person may go one direction or the other, or two persons could meet in the middle. Bridges have one thing in common, and that is they're crossing over some gap. They are making they're making travel easier. They are overcoming an obstacle on a pathway. They save time, and they connect two otherwise separated places. So all of these we can think about in relation, all of these images we can think about in relation to dialogue. There is, since the late 19th century, there has been a kind of practice called interfaith dialogue or interreligious dialogue, more or less formal arrangements for discussion amongst practitioners of different faiths. The specific historical marking point, I should have had a slide for this, is the 1893 Parliament of the World's Religions, or which took place in Chicago. This meeting was revived in recent years, and now there is every 5 years the Parliament of the World's Religions in one or another city of the world. In 2000 and what was it? 2004. It took place in Barcelona, and I was fortunate to take part in it. some point I may tell something about that. Here I just want to call attention to the simple fact, possibly obvious fact, that people of the world identify themselves to a large extent with some religious tradition. These numbers are shifting from one year to the next. If you research online, you'll see, but roughly this is what we find now. 33% of the world identify as Christians, 21% as Muslims, 13% as Hindus, almost 6% as Buddhist, 12.5% other religions, and non-religious 14%. Scholars of religion, sociologists, sociologists in general, and some scholars of religion used to say back in some decades ago, maybe in the 1960s, that religion is on the wane, it's disappearing from the world. The world is becoming secular. They were saying like that, and then after some years, they were realizing that's just not true. Religion is not going away. There are vast numbers of people with very strong convictions in identification with their particular religious traditions. And so the sociologists scratched their heads and wondered, what happened? Why is this? And I think they're still scratching their heads because they think, by their theory, there should be a disappearance of religion and there should be more and more secularism. Okay, now we're going to get a few slides with text, not so much imagery. Please bear with me. So these are my key questions for the seminar that I give in Mayapur. First question: how can our own spiritual lives and devotional experience of Krishna consciousness be enriched through open engagement with people of faith in other traditions? Now, one thing you'll understand from this whole presentation is I'm talking here about something different from what we usually as devotees speak of when we speak of preaching. One can argue that what I'm talking about is a form of preaching. That's all right. But I'm avoiding that term for various reasons, which we may also discuss. So this first question is about enriching ourselves, our own spiritual lives, and our own devotional experience of Krishna consciousness through open engagement with people of faith in other traditions. Open meaning not with some preliminary motivation to convert someone, to make someone a devotee, as we say, or whatever. Second question, how can we share Krishna consciousness with others in ways that are what I'm calling value adding for persons of faith, thus pursuing genuine friendship and cooperation for fostering the spiritual uplift of everyone. So here the question is framed in terms of sharing, and by this also asking the question, what do we have to offer to enrich others' spiritual lives? Again, not to convert, not to add members, not to add numbers to our statistics. And then turning again to look at ourselves, the third question, how can we foster a culture of dialogue within ISKCON? And of course, there's an assumption here, and the assumption or presupposition is that dialogue is a good thing, and that there is something we can call a culture of dialogue. And there's another assumption or suggestion here that perhaps to some extent, and this can vary from one community to another, but there's an assumption here that there could be more of a culture of dialogue than we presently have. And that this would be a good thing for us. So these are my basic, the three questions that are driving this whole seminar. And then we may want to define the term dialogue. And here I'm borrowing from an essay of one Scott London, who wrote an article called The Power of Dialogue. Dialogue is a form of discussion aimed at fostering mutual insight and common purpose. The process involves listening with empathy, searching for common ground, exploring new ideas and perspectives, and bringing unexamined assumptions into the open. Now, looking at this definition, some devotees would feel threatened. This is not what we want. And I would suggest that such a person who feels threatened is perhaps on a lower stage of bhakti, komala bhakti. Komala means fragile, delicate, not strong. And we could say another unspoken assumption I'm making here is that we want to progress in our spiritual life, and this means we want to become stronger in our spiritual life. So a form of discussion aimed at fostering mutual insight and common purpose. The process involves listening with empathy, searching for common ground, exploring new ideas and perspectives, and bringing unexamined assumptions into the open. So he mentions processes involved in getting to the goal, which is fostering mutual insight and common purpose. Incidentally, this is an article. There are a number of journals dedicated to interfaith or interreligious dialogue. And since recently, I believe it is, there's even a journal called, I think it's called Dialogue Studies. It's a whole academic field of study to understand how dialogue works, how it can be improved, how it can be more effective on many, many different levels, not just religion, but in business, in politics, and government, all different dimensions of public life. Here are a couple more definitions from William Isaacs, from a book called Dialogue and the Art of Thinking Together. So he says a dialogue is a conversation in which people think together in relationship. Interesting. And then dialogue is a way of taking the energy of our differences and channeling that energy towards something that has never been created before. Something interesting. So here we see differences. Okay, what do we do with these differences? Let's see if we can channel them into something that hasn't been there before, to create something positive. Okay, those are some suggestions of how dialogue, in a very broad sense, could be defined. But there's something else. There's also debate. And here we have from another scholar, David Blankenhorn. When it comes to modes of conversation in which people disagree, conservatives, wary of dialogue, tend to favor debate. Unlike dialogue, debate implies a clear-cut contest. You make your best case, I'll make my best case, in which, in principle, one side wins. The social benefit of debate, say its advocates, is that a vigorous contest of ideas is the best and perhaps only way for society to find the truth. Well, there's a lot to discuss here. I'll just mention that debate is also very much part of our tradition. In Nyaya Shastra, in particular, there is some discussion about different qualities of debate. We may say there's debate in the mode of goodness, debate in passion, debate in ignorance. And what is desirable, of course, is to debate in the mode of goodness, the main feature of which is a common desire to reach the truth, which is what we see mentioned in his comment, Blankenhorn's comment. And just a little side footnote to this, I was fortunate to witness a really amazing debate. I've perhaps shared this with some of you. Maybe 3 years ago in Oxford, there is a debating society at Oxford University, which is called the Oxford Forum? No, that's not the Oxford. I'm forgetting right now, but it's a kind of club. I'll think of it. And there was a devotee who was studying at Oxford University who is a disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, and he arranged for Radhanath Swami to be one member of a debating team against another team. And I mean, this is kind of a longer story, but the occasion was 50th anniversary of a time when Malcolm X, he was a highly controversial figure in America, debated at the Oxford, in this same forum. And so there were two quite famous personalities from America in the current debate with Radhanath Swami. One of them was Cornel West, who was a scholar at Harvard University until he was thrown out of Harvard. He's a controversial figure. And there was, what's her name? I'm forgetting. Another very famous woman who was at one time, as a member of the American Communist Party, very much, she was in the top 10 wanted list of the FBI. Both of them are excellent speakers, and Radhanath Swami, as you may know, is also an excellent speaker. And he was placed on the side opposite of these two. And the subject, the question of the debate, was whether or not it is justifiable to use violence in order to address oppression, such as racial oppression, especially, and these political situations where people are obviously being, in fact, also violently dealt with. So whether violence is justified. Anyway, so first Cornel West spoke. He's a very powerful speaker, very emotional. And after he ended his 10-minute speech, there was a very strong applause from the audience. And then it was Radhanath Swami's turn. And Radhanath Swami stood up and he said in a humble way, he said, "So you have put me on this side," meaning on the side against using violence. And by saying that, he was saying, I could also argue on the other side, but you have put me on this side, so I will argue on this side. And then he gave a wonderful 10-minute speech. And he got an equally enthusiastic applause from the audience. And the moment he ended his speech, Cornel West, whom Radhanath Swami has met before, they have had public discussions before, not debates, but discussions. You can find on the internet. Cornel West jumped up and embraced Radhanath Swami. So the debate, as the next speaker, whose name I'm forgetting, said, she said, "This is not much of a debate. We all seem to be agreeing with each other." Anyway, debate is part of our tradition, and Srila Prabhupada liked debate. Sometimes he would urge his disciples to argue with him. And of course, the purpose was to find the truth, as Langenhorn says here. Now, there's a third type of mode of expression that I want to mention, which is called in English apologetics. And this is not to be confused with the modern English word apology. In modern conversation, we say, oh, I apologize. I am sorry. Please forgive me. But the classical meaning of apology was different. It was a kind of defense of one's religious position. And many, especially in early Christianity, there were many writers who were writing apologetics in defense of their Christian faith against the Roman accusations, criticisms especially, that were launched against them. So here we have a very interesting statement from Blaise Pascal, the French philosopher and scientist. He said, "Men despise religion. They hate it and fear it is true. To remedy this, we must begin by showing that religion is not contrary to reason, that it is venerable, to inspire respect for it. Then we must make it lovable, to make good men hope it is true. Finally, we must prove it is true." Very eloquent writer, Pascal. And Pascal is famous for what came to be known as Pascal's wager, in which he proposed that a wager, a gambling be made between an atheist and a believer. That he said, by reason, it makes more sense to wager in favor of the existence of God than to wager against the existence of God. Because if you wager against the existence of God, you win nothing. You win nothing and you lose everything if God exists. And if you wager for the existence of God, you win everything if indeed there is God, and you lose nothing if there is no God. That's Blaise Pascal. So, all right, these were very broad, some definitions and some framing, but we can do some more framing of the idea of dialogue in our tradition. Certainly we don't want to invent something out of nothing. We don't want to start something that wasn't there before. So we may ask, is there dialogue in our tradition? And I want to argue, yes, there is. First of all, we have the term samvada, and we find this throughout our literature. It comes at the end of every chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Literally, it means a discussion together or a comprehensive discussion. And of course, the Bhagavad Gita is just that. It's Krishna's discussion with Arjuna. And you may say, well, it's not much of a dialogue. okay, Arjuna asks some questions, but can we say it's really a dialogue in the modern sense? It seems the inequality between Krishna and Arjuna is what is emphasized. Yes, in one sense, but let us not forget that Krishna says to Arjuna in the 4th chapter, I am speaking to you this knowledge of yoga because you are my friend and my devotee. So it is a relationship where some sort of equality is also present. It says, you are my friend. Okay, and in chapter 10, we have one of the 4 verses of the Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita, Mat-chitta mat-gata prana bodhayanta parasparam katayantas chamam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Krishna is describing what do devotees do. Their minds, their chitta, are directed toward or absorbed in me, Krishna, mat. And mat-gata prana, their lives are aimed, are going toward the Lord. And bodhayanta parasparam. Parasparam is one of these kind of fun Sanskrit words that means each other, back and forth. So again, there's a kind of equality suggested here. And bodhayantaha, the devotees enliven one another. Literally, they wake each other up. They awaken or enliven. Katayantascha, and they cause each other to speak about the Lord. Nityam, constantly. And what's the result? Tushyanti, they're satisfied. And ramanti, they're very pleased, they enjoy. So dialogue can be very enjoyable. Again, you may say, well, that's amongst devotees. Yes, that's true. But now let's look at Chaitanya Charitamrita, in which we find so many dialogues which are with persons of other traditions. And this is a subject in itself. Some of you may know. I've also written about this, what I call mandala of positions, how we can sort of chart the different sorts of people that Lord Chaitanya meets, encounters, and at least in some sense has dialogue with. Here's an image of Mahaprabhu with his followers meeting apparently the Kazi of Navadvip. And everyone is looking very sweet and mellow and smiling here. When you read Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat, it looks like everyone is really quite angry. So there are, I think it's altogether 3 discussions Mahaprabhu with Muslims in Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'm not going to go into that in any detail because here we're just overviewing. We may wonder, what about the later tradition So let us look at this later tradition. Here you see Bhaktisiddhanta Thakura looking up from his writing, which he did very extensively. But let's go to his preceptor and father, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, to see how he, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, sets a certain example, which I find very important and valuable for us, with his expression, the Saragrahi Vaishnava. The word Sara means essence, and Grahi means one who grasps. It comes from gra, to grasp, and grahana, grasping. It can mean to comprehend, and it has the sense of to appreciate. It's essentially giving the same idea that we get in the word Paramahamsa, as Srila Prabhupada explains. Paramahamsa is one who grasps the essence, as the Hamsa, the swan, is able to extract milk from a mixture of milk and water. Now, here's a footnote to that, which you may find interesting, if slightly irrelevant to what I'm discussing. It's been, people have raised the question, devotees have raised the question, how is it possible for, if there's a mixture of milk and water, how could it physically be possible to extract milk from water by some filtering system? So it's been suggested, one theory of how this works is that in the mouth of the swan is, in the saliva, some acid. And that acid, when the swan draws in the water-milk mixture, turns the milk, curdles the milk, makes it into basically paneer. And so it solidifies, and then the swan takes that. I thought that's interesting. Possible explanation. And I have also some good news regarding the word hamsa. Just recently I read, and I won't remember where, but it was from a scholar, an Indologist, confirming that the word hamsa indeed means swan. And I say that because when I was studying Sanskrit in the university, one of the first shocks that I got, the instructor and professor, when we were reading something which included the word hamsa, said, hamsa does not mean swan. Hamsa means gander, a male goose, not a swan. And then another professor I had said the same thing. And I thought, how is this possible? Well, it turns out that some Indologists back in the, I think it was the 1930s, speculated that hamsa means goose or gander. And ever since then, everyone just followed what that scholar said. But now the modern scholarship says, no, that's not true. Hamsa means swan, as we have always known, as Srila Prabhupada always knew. Okay. Further on Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and this gets back to, it's a kind of example of what I'm suggesting is a kind of open engagement. In the first chapter of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Chaitanya Shikshamrita, he discusses the diversity of religions, and he identifies 5 different types of differences. He says there are differences in teachers and prophets. Second, there are differences in mentality and expression of reverence by the worshippers. Third, there are differences in procedures of worship. Fourth, there are differences in conceptions of God. And fifth, there are differences in the name and statements of God because of variation in language. So, in modern terminology, we could say that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is attempting here a little bit of phenomenology of religion, which is sort of looking at religion from the outside and seeing what are particular features of what one sees. Okay, so he starts out with this, and then he goes on to say this, and I'll read it through. This is from His Holiness Bhanu Swami, translation of Chaitanya Shikshamrita. Because of the above 5 differences, it is only natural that the various religions will appear quite different. However, it is improper and detrimental, which means it's not favorable, to argue over these differences. If one goes to another place of worship, one should think, and then he's kind of quoting himself thinking. He says, the people here are worshiping my Lord, but in a different way. Because of my different training, I cannot properly comprehend this system of worship. However, through this experience, I can deepen my appreciation for my own system of worship. The Lord is only one, not 2. Therefore, I offer respect to the form I see here and pray to the Lord in this new form that he may increase my love for him in the form to which I am accustomed. It's interesting. So there's a, it occurs to me just now, there's a very liberal side to this, and there's also a conservative side. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is not suggesting that he is going to change his essential identity as a worshiper of the Lord, as he is comfortable in doing, as he has been trained to do. And at the same time, he's showing this incredible openness to others' ways of worship and other forms of God or other expression of God. To the extent that he says, I offer a respect to the form I see here. And not only I offer respect, I pray to the Lord in this new form new meaning new for him, that he, the Lord, may increase my love for him in that new form? No, in the form to which I am accustomed. So this goes back to my first question, which is, how may we enrich our own experience of Krishna consciousness? Here, I think Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving one very helpful guiding principle. So what does Srila Prabhupada say about interreligious or interfaith dialogue? Here's one quote in a conversation with a Christian priest. Now our appeal is to everyone, every religious sect, that people are becoming godless, generally at the present moment. So we should make combined effort to revive their God consciousness. Combined effort. So Srila Prabhupada is here suggesting a practical engagement, and this goes back, maybe I should find it again, to that first definition of dialogue. Yes, a form of discussion aimed at fostering mutual insight and common purpose. Now there are different sorts of dialogue, and eventually, if we continue with this series, we will come to that. But for now, I think I will stop, and that's slide number 20. I have quite a few more in this particular show, but I want to look and see if there are any questions. Now, it seems like I have to stop sharing in order to look at the Zoom screen, but maybe not. Let's see. No. Stop video, mute, annotate. No, that doesn't seem to work. Okay, seems like I have to stop sharing. Oh, wait. Oh, maybe I didn't have to stop sharing. Okay. Raised hand.
Well, Maharaj, in the bottom row, we have a command buttons, so they will appear automatically when you...
I just found, I think I know what I'm doing now. Thank you. Divya Singha has a question. Oh, Divya Singha is full of questions. Dira Lalita, Dharma Gupta, Amritarai. Oh, quite a few things. Okay, Avatari is asking, is there a difference between ātma-nivedana and ātma-nikshepa? The principle is the same. I don't know offhand the derivation of nivedana. Nikshepa comes from the verbal root kship, which means to throw. To throw. And ni generally means down, so to throw down. So it has this sense of throwing oneself down, just dandavat pranam. This is, I think, the idea. And nivedana, I'd have to look, it must come from some verbal root vid, but not meaning to know. There's There will be different verbal roots, but I won't spend time to look for that now. Okay. And oh, here's a question from Dira Lalita. When Krishna incarnates in every day of Brahma, do the same Guru Parampara and spiritual masters appear as well as they did in this Kali Yuga? It is said that Guru Tattva, along with Shiva Tattva, are most difficult to understand. So how to understand how Guru Parampara works is not so easy. Srila Prabhupada explains that Srila Vyasa Deva, that Vyasa is a position, and that in our parampara we have Krishna Dvaipayana as the Vyasa. So Krishna Dvaipayana is the Vyasa who was born on a dvipa, and therefore he is called Dvaipayana. And so from that, there is, I would say, a suggestion that there need not be the same, the exact same persons appearing again and again, day after day of Brahma. But rest assured, the Guru Parampara will go on functioning, because Krishna will make sure that it does, because he says so. He says, I appear in order to reestablish the principles of religion, to reestablish parampara, which after some time gets broken. Divya Singha speaks of his experience of when saying, I don't know, then it's possible to talk with anyone. So it opens up a conversation. When I say that I know, then not everyone wants a relationship. He's asking, what's my experience of this? Yeah, generally, you can say this is the difference between a certain kind of attitude that
And devotee said, I think we just lost connection with Guru Maharaj. I'll try to contact him. Mataji Sugapati Vidya, can you please give him a call, maybe?
I'm back. Krishna's been very kind to us this time with the connection. To say, I don't know, if we leave it at that, may not be the best thing to say, because there is something that we do know. We do know that we have received something from our spiritual master, and we do know that we are practicing that, and that we are experiencing something beneficial as a result of that. So there are many things that we can speak about that we do know.
We can't hear Maharaj, isn't it now?
Oh, we can't. Connection is lost. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried calling, but he isn't picking now.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Maharaj, we can't hear you.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
That's why
Are we supposed that probably? Yeah, you don't know. So,
I'm trying to reconnect.
yeah,
but
you're off
that's
now.
what I want to do. So I think I have to end now, but it was anyway around time to end. So maybe you can page the others.
Yes.
Apologies. Seems like now the time has caught up with us.
Yes.
We'll continue next.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you from everyone. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you.
Actually, we could
So
continue.
you see-
We could continue over the phone. You just put your phone on your microphone. So it's,
Is it?
yeah, I mean.
He said that probably next week. Should I suggest?
Oh, I mean, the timing is fine. Just for 2 hours was fine. So we just need
Yes, yes. He suggested that.
to. Okay.
So next
Thank
week.
you very much, devotees, for your cooperation, your kind sharing and everything. So seems that will be the end of today's meeting. The recording will be available soon, so I will publish it on a group and on Facebook as well. So yeah, that's it. That will be all for now. So I will just unmute everyone so you can say something if you like.
Haribol!
Możecie teraz mówić, co chcecie.
We are first, loudest.
Hare Krishna. Soumya, Hare Krishna.
Where is Chandrika, Prabhu? Where is Chandrika today?
She has a meeting right now, another meeting at the same time. So she can't be here. She's in
O, Brihaspati Prabhu jest.
another physical room, not another Zoom room.
Somebody.
45 uczestników.
Real time.
O, Madhupati Prabhu jest.
This is so good.
You don't need comedy, whatever.
Hare Krishna. Dziękuję wszystkim za udział. Przepraszam za jakość. Wskoczyłem nagle w to tłumaczenie. Okazało się, że to jest całkiem spore wyzwanie tłumaczyć Guru Maharaja. Wiele technicznych terminów. Wiele z nich nie znam. Więc uczymy się całe życie. Hare Krishna. Do usłyszenia.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.